where they got this one.
But I like the way you guys put the tape for the vote, the roll call vote in the ordinances. John didn't do that, so I had to write the names.
Just killing the entire, just checking the box.
You're live.
Yeah, I just checked the box.
He actually had a copy.
Okay, would everyone please rise for a moment of silence? Would you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Pat, have you taken the roll?
Yeah.
The first item on the agenda is hearing of citizens. Would anyone care to address the village board this evening? Bill?
I think everyone knows me about Bill Shannon, president of the Chatham Railroad Museum Association. We're the managers of the Chatham Railroad Museum, located down the street here. Somebody once asked me, what benefit is the museum to the community? My response, in addition to preserving one of Chatham's most historic buildings, it draws visitors from all over the world. We had at least 200 visitors in June during the blue carpet tour of historic Route 66. In August, the locomotion cruise in drew another 200 people. Last month, the Ernie Langhine Memorial Ride drew almost 100 motorcycles and their riders to the museum. October 4th, our Depot Day drew another 100 plus visitors. This is well over 600 people that may not have come to Chatham otherwise. Many of these visitors eat meals, buy gas, etc. while in Chatham. I know one local restaurant that orders extra food and has extra staff on hand because of increased business during our cruise in. October 14th of last year, I came before this board to point out the condition of the roof on the museum. I presented photographs of the condition of the roof and one of the badly deteriorated shingles that had blown off of the roof. I'd asked for money to replace the roof be included in the fiscal year 2016 budget. This was not done, even though $48,969 was put into the Parks and Recreation budget for building and grounds maintenance. Since this board has taken no action towards replacing the roof, we started a fundraising campaign, and the results have been almost unbelievable. Support for the museum shown by the people and businesses in the community has been outstanding. Just last night, the board of Chatham Township voted to pay for the materials needed to replace the roof on a building they don't even own. In addition to replacing the roof, the two chimneys on the building need tuck pointed before they fall apart. We have a bid of $2,860 for this work, and it needs to be done before the roof is replaced. This plus the previous bid of $10,200 to replace the roof is a total of $13,060. Deducting the $1,760 that Chatham Township is paying for materials, and that's including the fact that Harvey Lumber is selling the shingles to us at half price, that leaves about $10,500 to finish the complete job. Just over a week ago, we were approached by Chatham JCs offering to paint the building if we would buy the paint. Of course, we immediately agreed to buy the paint and anything else they need to complete the job. This money will come out of the donations we have received. Our Secretary, Lisa Blackburn, has a few more comments she'd like to make.
As Bill said, I think he's talked about the value of the depot, but I also want to say it was constructed in 1902, and it's one of the few remaining depots that's still in the spot where it stood originally. That's special to me. History means a lot to me. The museum houses a valuable collection of artifacts and exhibits that's maintained by the CRMA of the Chatham Railroad Museum. As everyone in this board is well aware, there's some very important artifacts there, and they're in danger. We've experienced a large showing of community support and a show of surprise at the lack of the village government to support us with the roof and the exterior needs. The depot needs a new roof, it needs exterior paint, it needs tuck pointing on the chimneys, and it needs other exterior work. We've made great effort to raise money. Starting in July, we sent out an envelope campaign to all Chamber of Commerce members. We got a great response, and I'd like to thank personally Trustee Chatham for donating a cash contribution. No one else did, I'd like to point on the board. In August, we had our cruise-in fundraiser. This is our regular cruise-in fundraiser. We raise the money so that we can pay for the insurance for the interior, for the artifacts that we protect. We put part of that money that we raised in August toward the repairs. In September, the JCs were nice enough to give us a spot at the Oktoberfest. They gave us a great spot right by the door. They supported us, we raised money there. Finally, on October 4th, we had our Depot Day. First time we've ever done that, a lot of work went into it, and a lot of money was raised. I would like to point out, however, that no one on the board, including the mayor, who's a member of CRMA, and his wife, did not attend, did not show support. There was a lot of community, a lot of the members that came and said, what's going on? Why won't the village government support you? We have no answer for this. We've raised over $7,500 through our hard work, and we've sacrificed a good portion of our summer, a lot of us, to raise this money. It's not enough, but we care about history and the community, and we've made ourselves known. I'd also like to point out, ordinance number 1511 was enacted unanimously by the mayor and board on April 14th of this year. It involved a management agreement that was approved by the whole board. That agreement at page 3, section 2A reads, and I'll quote it, "The village shall pay all utilities charged to or used by the Chatham Depot. The village shall make all reasonable repairs to the structure, foundation, roof, HVAC, electric, plumbing system of the Chatham Depot upon reasonable notice thereof by the association. Such repairs shall be made at the village's expense, except that the association shall reimburse the village with the cost of any repair which was necessitated by the negligence of the association or acts of visitors to the depot, which could have reasonably been prevented by the association." I think everyone can agree we didn't cause the roof problems or the tuck pointing problems. That's straight out of this ordinance, which was signed by the mayor and was also signed by Bill's president of CRMA and myself as secretary.
Lisa, what was the ordinance number again?
The ordinance number is 15-11. It was entered in April 14th of this year. It's a legal document, no question. Notice was initially given by Bill to the village board at a meeting in this building on October 14th. Tomorrow, that's a year ago. I think that's reasonable notice under any legal termination. The roof's in critical condition. There's bare wood showing. The shingles are crumbling. Tuck pointing is needed. The chimneys are crumbling. The board's been brought in photo after photo, and Bill even brought in pieces of shingles to show you what kind of shape it's in. No response. CRMA is insured for the documents inside. We pay that insurance. Every year it goes up about $100. It's getting close to $1,000. We raise our money at the cruise-in to pay for that insurance. Here's the thing. If that roof starts leaking and our insurer has to pay for the valuable documents, which can't be replaced, do you really think they're not going to go back on the village's insurer because it's coming from the roof, and I'm assuming the village insures the outside of the building? We've been advised that the reason the roof is literally crumbling is because of the Tamco shingles that were used for the roof were defective. It's our understanding, and I would ask the board to tell me if this is true or not, that those shingles were used on the village and on the building in the village park. Tamco at some point acknowledged the shingles were defective and reimbursed the village. The building in the park was re-roofed, Depot was not. I'd ask the board if this is true, and if so, where that money went. The community has spoken. What can the village board do to assist us? What will you do? We can't even get bids on the roof because we don't own the building. We can't afford to own the building. We're not trying to do that. But we can't even get bids. What are you going to do? Please, tell us.
Wow, thank you.
So what does the balance do that you need right this minute?
We can't tell you that because you won't get bids for us.
We can't get the bids.
We had 2 contractors that were interested in donating their labor, which that is permissible. Otherwise, prevailing wage, well, union wage has to be paid.
Okay.
It's in the range of $30 to $40 an hour. Those 2 contractors both reneged on doing that, so it's down to the point, obviously, somebody's going to have to be hired. With the township agreeing to pay for all the materials needed for the roofs, it's down to just paying for the labor. And
We have the JCs who have volunteered to do the painting. I mean, there's a lot of exterior works need to be done. We have the funds to pay for the paint, the brushes, all. We will take care of that.
thin enough, we could pay a portion of the other costs, but we certainly don't have enough to pay all of it. That's what we're going to do tonight.
Sherry, do we have anything we can move to?
I mean, I'd have to look at that to see how much it is.
What was kind of the, I know you can't tell us exactly, but what was kind of the guesstimate? It's under 20,000?
Last fall, the only firm estimate we got, it was not broken down into materials, itemized, it was just a one price, $10,200.
For the roof only, that wasn't.
That was just the roof.
That's not
the tuck
anybody-
point, that was just the roof. And the tuck point, which really needs to be done before the roof is done, was $2,860. That was an estimate given last night.
We also understand there's some venting that needs to be done,
Yeah, some vents need to be added to the roof.
because there's moisture
And the
coming.
tuck pointing is using prevailing wage, by the way.
I mean, Sherry, I know the board would have to vote on it, but is there any money we could move around?
I really have to look at all the different line items to see where you'd be moving from to. I know.
Does it not fall under Parks and Recreation?
I don't think so. It's historical building and Parks and Recreation, I think, is only the three departments.
I looked over the village budget online, and I didn't really see an exact category, and I think Parks and Recreation is being the closest bit, but not knowing if that's correct.
I think we usually would put it under administration, building and grounds is where we.
Okay.
And we usually don't have a very big budget because that's just to cover janitorial and that sort of thing.
Sherry,
So we have to come from somewhere else. But,
Where is the revenue from the gaming going into?
well, right now we're not receiving the revenue from the gaming, but I don't think we've earmarked it for anything. It just goes into the general.
What about the prior year's revenue from gaming?
I mean, it's just still sitting out there in cash. I mean, it hasn't come in earmarked it like it just goes.
But it's there, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's there. We've got still have a cash balance.
It's in the general revenue fund, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tom, why don't we just start with getting an actual bid on it rather than
I agree with Dave.
go out and get an actual bid? That's one that they, need us to do. That's gonna be the starting point for everything. Just get somebody in there that'll look at it, say it needs A, B, C, and D, and here's the cost. And at least have a legit bid.
The village does have a list of contractors qualified to do work for the village, and you get one to give a bid on labor only. That, as Dave said, that would be the place.
yeah, and I kind of thought that's how we had left it, I thought we were working with, you guys were gonna contact
Well,
the,
our difficulty
And then
is
they-
getting the contractors, when you don't own the building, and that's the creative problem.
okay, and that's, I know.
Can you, we could turn around and request some bids? Okay.
No, why don't we do
That'd be
that?
the basis of the conversation.
But how long will it take for you to request it? Because we're getting close to winter now, and obviously this needs to be done before winter gets here.
We do not feel that it will survive another winter.
No,
We
that-
can
we
hire a
don't know
contractor
how
without
much-
bidding with the board approval.
Yeah. If it's under 20,000, we can just say,
Oh, it
Oh,
absolutely.
it'll be absolutely.
or you could waive the bidding
Easy.
requirements. Yeah, too.
I'm sure it will be under 10,000.
So Pat, you will take care of that? Is that what you want me to hire a contractor, or do you want a price? Well, I think we have to get a bid first.
We have to get a bid.
What do you need the association to do?
So-
We'll work with Pat on
So what do you
getting
want?
that
You want one bid? Or
One bid for what, the roof,
For
the
roofing and
tuck-ins,
tuck pointing.
and the vents?
Yes.
The roofer may be able to include the vents in that. The problem is there's no venting to that roof, and we were told by Representative Tamco Shingles that that's very damaging to shingles to not have proper venting. So we would like to include proper venting when the roof is done.
He said that's probably one reason shingles deteriorate so fast.
so you can,
That one by.
you guys work together with Pat and then,
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, we're more than willing to work with you. We're not manning necessarily.
So we're not bidding on
it.
But we obviously don't have.
Yeah, let's just get a,
I'm getting bids on the chimney. There's more than tuck pointing needs to be done there. I want to minimize the cost of that bid. We are getting notified Brick Masons to give us prevailing wage bids. We have one, we're getting another. They've already been out today, look. So So we'll give those to you guys.
Thank you.
That sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. Okay, moving along, any further comment? Yes, Bonnie?
I like that. My first time. Thank you, Mayor. Bonnie Billick. I'm a little on the frustrated side, and I'd like to direct this to you, Mayor. It's been made in the newspaper, the Clarion, and a few other incidences where you are not directing any comments that the village citizens have. That's disturbing.
Now, wait, what was this? I'm not sure what you're saying.
Okay. Whenever we have a question in regards to village matters, whether it's the water plant, which we're done beating the dead horse over, okay? But now the billing aspects and the complaints with the village employees and things, you sit there and we're concerned about how involved you're really getting with the village citizens.
You know, Jeff, how should I respond to that? Because the meeting she's commenting on, I'm not a member of the committee of the whole. So I am there as an observer.
Yeah, I mean,
And I am involved, and we actually have an ordinance tonight about the billing.
Correct, but what I'm trying to state to you before you respond is the overall. Okay, the overall for the months that we've been coming here on Tuesdays trying to get answers, okay? Unfortunately, I'm sorry, Mayor, myself, and I think I can speak for several, we don't feel like you are listening to us. Maybe you are, maybe it's behind closed doors that we're not seeing, okay? But you always seem to look around, and we are getting response from some of the trustees. We might not be happy with everything they're responding, but you never seem to open up and respond to the village citizens' comments, remarks, questions, or anything. It has been stated in the Clarion even, you know, that you're not responding. It was stated last week in the Clarion after the last Tuesday meeting that you looked at us like deer in headlights. I am respectfully asking you to be more involved in the questions that we bring up to you. You were a big part of this water plant, as Joe was, and even as Matt was. These guys are all new coming into it, okay? You never seem to want to comment to the village citizens. We want this village to be as good as what I think in your heart you want it to be, but
Okay.
we want you more involved. If you cannot be more involved in our questions directed, whether it's you or the trustees answering and you having a remark, then I'm going to respectfully say, do you deserve to be in that position? Be a part of the village voices, a part of the village citizens. Comment. Admit when you're wrong, admit when you're right. Get us information. Quit looking at this person or that person to give you the information. You are the main person on this whole board. And the main person on this whole board, I don't expect you to know everything. For God's sake, I'm not that stupid. But I expect you to know enough that when we say, Mayor, you are a big part of that water plant. We have questions. We're not getting information that we FOIA'd. We're not getting information about the EPA or anything else. You be a part of it. You push whoever you think.
Okay, I will.
Otherwise, step away before 2017.
Thank you for your comment.
I'm sure you really want to thank me.
Bonnie,
No.
what FOIA information
Yes,
are
ma'am.
you getting?
They're looking at the FOIA information on the EPA, on whether documents were verbally agreed to, or whether they were written out.
Who is that request sent to?
That request, and I believe that Shane is working with Jewel on getting that information.
You seen
On
it?
whether we actually have the extra tank that we need, otherwise we're going to go back to city water like power looking for water backup in case.
I haven't seen it. Okay.
Becky, yes. I wasn't at the meeting last week, but I did watch it on YouTube, and I was very disturbed. It's hard for me to believe that no one knew that the village of Chatham had no backup water agreement. And I guess my question is, who was responsible for that? To make sure that we did have a backup agreement. At any time, did anyone ask the question, do we have one? And who is it with?
If this question wasn't asked, why wasn't it? Or was it a, ha-ha, Springfield, we are getting our own plant, we'll show you?
Becky, I can tell you right now that I asked that question many times as the person that voted against the whole matter. And time again, it was told we're getting it. And time again, I would ask again, do we have one? And time again, the same answer would be given. You know, but it's interesting that we're concerned about a backup, because when I asked how much water was there in the aquifer, I'm told, oh, it doesn't matter, we don't need a backup, we have enough water there to supply us for hundreds of years. So that's the interesting point about it, is we're all, the mayor's now concerned about a backup water supply, when, he was one of them that said, oh, well, it's an aquifer, there's tons of water. And when I asked the question, how much, they said, well, we have no way of knowing. So if you have no way of knowing, how do you know there's enough?
And I agree with that. It has become very apparent that there was an enormous lack of experience in running the plant. Why is that? Whose fault was that? And why did it take 2.5 years to finally get someone in there to try to fix the problems that the citizens were complaining about, but were totally ignored? Because of this, citizens of Chatham have suffered damage to our homes, our appliances, or had to spend a lot of money for whole house filters, so we as citizens feel we have safe water. Because of this water plant, this community is in massive debt, and it is my understanding will incur additional debt to fix the problem, which will result in higher water bills, higher taxes, which will drive people away from Chatham, not into Chatham. Generations to come will be burdened with this debt. It's my understanding the bonds are not to be paid off till 2035 or 2040, something like that. I'm 65 years old. I'm not going to be here another 30 years, but I've got kids and I've got grandkids that are going to be here. And they're the ones that are going to pay for it. As far as I'm aware, there are only 2 people that were on the village board when this fiasco was started. And here are some questions I have for you. How involved were you from the beginning to the end of the building of this water plant? Or did you just pass it off to somebody else? We're getting a water plant, that's all there is to it. Matt, I know you were on, but you didn't vote for it.
Well, and I'll answer the question, and I know Jules here. I think when I started coming to meetings regularly in 2006, I just graduated college, because I ran in 2007 for the board and was opposed to the water plant in 2007. Jewel and I worked together, we looked at different things, pros and cons of our own water system, and, she sent me different things. I asked questions. 2007 went along, I didn't make it. 2009, I was on the board, and I asked many questions at each meeting, and, I didn't vote no just to vote no. I voted no because the cons at the time, as they do today, show that it was not the best choice for Chatham to do that.
Joe, your comment?
Sure. In 2009, before we voted on this, I can tell you there was a meeting when Mr. Renfro came to the village, and he said, we want to work this out, we want to get this done, we want to have an agreement. I think you remember that meeting, probably.
I do.
And I know at that time, the village, the people on the board had a lot of questions regarding the Springfield contract, including the boundary line agreement, etc., the rates, because one of the things that Springfield always did was they would say to us in August what our rates were back in May. So then we would have to go back to May to figure out what our rates were back then, because they would not tell us in May what our rates were when we were billing people. So it was a system that was very confusing, and so we had a lot of questions regarding that. That being said, one of the things that I did was, before we voted on before we voted to not have the agreement any longer, I wrote a very long letter with, I believe it was like 19 different questions. And I know you helped me with it. And we wrote that to the city of Springfield to ask them to answer those questions. And they did answer the questions. Once we got them back, shared them with the board and saw what the board wanted to do with them. And that's when, even if you don't even count me, that's when the majority of the board said, we want to move forward.
Can we have a copy of that?
Yeah, sure.
And Becky, one of the biggest things was the, when we originally went with Springfield, whether in 1950 or 60, when we signed the last contract, you know, one of the main issues was Mansion Road. We couldn't go beyond Mansion Road. Well, I don't know if you were here in 1950 or 60 in Chatham, but Mansion Road was not, I mean, we might have had a stop sign at Huck's. I mean, there was nothing, Mansion Road was, you know, and so when we got closer, as Joe said, you know, that was one of the issues, Mansion Road. And I had proposed, and I had a contract from CWLP that took out the Mansion Road wording, so we could expand beyond there, if we so chose. And, you know, I brought that a proposal to a meeting, and unfortunately, it was not allowed to be heard at the meeting. But that was one of the biggest issues, was our inability to control our own destinies. So many of our current and former village leaders have liked to say, controlling our own destiny.
Well, I mean,
and the cost
those
and-
current and former ones are going to bankrupt this community. And that's the sad thing about it to me. They're going to bankrupt this community because, you know, here's another question. How involved were you from the beginning to the end of the building of the water plant? Did you get monthly reports? Did somebody come in here? Did the engineers come in here? Did the consultants come in here? Did you see what the consultants recommended for the plant?
Yeah, we had, and I know you've been to meetings with Mike Kendor, would present to our meetings. Mike Williamson would be here. But there again, you know, did the different, and I forget the names of them because we switched mid-term because of, I think they got bought out or whatever.
Yes.
So we went to a different company. But I don't know that I recall them being here that often, those different companies that we started with. And I think one was based out of St. Louis or
Well,
maybe they both were.
did you ever see the original recommendation that the company, the consulting or the engineering company said that the green sand filter needed to be put in there and a holding tank needed to be done? Did you ever see that recommendation? Because that was the original recommendation that was given.
I did see that, but I also...
It was told no, because they had to do testing for a year, if I'm not mistaken. The EPA did, and they didn't want to wait that long.
Yeah, and they said if we did this cell membrane filter, we wouldn't have to wait that year.
That's
And
right,
so we went
3 or
with that
4 months.
Cell membrane, exactly.
I guess this is the big question for me. Do you feel now, knowing the financial jeopardy you've put this community in, as well as the high water rates that citizens of Chatham are now paying, that this water plant was a mistake? Joe?
Yes or no?
Yes or no? It's a simple question. Yes or no?
No.
Mayor?
I would agree. I think that we did the right thing.
You think you did the right thing?
I think the board did the right thing.
You think that putting this
That we're not, okay,
community
we've gone
in
over,
financial jeopardy, higher taxes, higher water bills, you can't add anybody else on because of the EPA is, for mine, is that hold still on?
It is. South Sangamon, we're South Sangamon. We
Well-
can't.
South Sangamon can. But isn't that the money? Isn't, you know, and I do have one question. Several months ago, there was talk about a referendum for, there had to be a certain limit for the referendum.
An ordinance stating how much they could limit, if we could limit how much they could spend without it going on to a referendum.
Right.
Correct.
My question is, it's going to be probably $5 more million to get that plant to where it should be. from what I have read, from what I have heard, and from people I have talked to.
Well, we had Terry Burke in here, and that's the number that he gave us, was 5 million.
Okay, so who's going to back those bonds? Is it South Sangamon Water Commission, or is it gonna be the Village of Chatham? Because let me tell you, gentlemen, if you look at those bonds, there is a whole lot of back interest that you're gonna be paying in the next 2 or 3 years on those bonds.
Well, and I hope we can pay for this, because the problem is, what the former board did was they gave our property taxes away, because if we
No,
can't.
we didn't.
Yes, you
Jeff-
did.
Jeff,
If we
would you
can.
explain it?
So if we can't pay it, our property taxes don't get raised to pay for it.
Right.
So if we stop paying SSWC right now, who pays for it?
We're,
Property tax.
Our property taxes.
well, I think the village is ultimately responsible for that.
That's
for the
true.
payment.
Thank you.
That's right, and our property
But-
taxes
Exactly.
are what's backing several of those bonds. And there are tons of back interest that hasn't been paid yet. The next 2 or 3 years is gonna be astronomical for this village. I've had a bond expert look at them, I've looked at them, and I'm telling you, gentlemen, this community is gonna be in serious, serious trouble. So my question to you, if the 5 million for all these repairs we're gonna have to do because they screwed it up the first time, who's gonna be held responsible for that? Is it us or is it them?
And Becky, if I can make one more comment, you asked, was it a good idea now or then or whatever? You know, I still think it was a bad idea that we did it. But, you know, whether I think it's a good idea now or later or back then, now we have to make sure, because what's tied into it, that it does work and we do figure it out and we do get an end in good water for our community now, tomorrow, and for the future. That's so very important.
As I mentioned the last time, the 3 questions that are asked by real estate agents, people who are looking for houses in Chatham, what kind of shape are the appliances in? Is it a whole house filter? Is there a whole house filter? And our property values have dropped approximately 8%. You know,
I think, okay, so we'll move on from there.
And Becky, we're going to talk about this, the $5 million investment that the SSWC has kind of alluded to. We're going to talk about that too in this joint meeting, along with I think many other questions that the board has and wants addressed by them.
when is this joint meeting?
It's soon to be
November.
scheduled, I believe.
November, yeah.
We're looking at November 4th, maybe.
Is it open to the public?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we're too early, yeah.
Okay, anyone else care to address the village board tonight? Yes.
Les Morgan. Something that has really been bothering me at the last few board meetings, folks, when you're doing the Pledge of Allegiance, wait until the last word is said before you turn around. Halfway through the thing, you're turning around to sit down. That bothers me. You're showing lack of respect, okay?
Okay.
All right, now, on a positive note, the Veterans Memorial Ceremony is still on schedule. We're going to be making the last payment for the shirts that are being given for donations. We got about $2,000 or $3,000 extra that will help some of the expenses for that day. November the 11th, on the square at 11 o'clock will be our 15th anniversary celebration. Senator Sam McCann has agreed to be our main speaker. And what I would like for the village to do, if you could make that a day of proclamation for the 15th anniversary of the memorial, for the Chatham Veterans Memorial. Thank you.
Les, could you comment, or could you give some details on the event coming up October 19th for Lena Benedict?
That is, I did have that. I wasn't going to say anything. I didn't know if it was appropriate.
Could you kind of explain who she was? And she was really
October
great.
17th from 4 to 7 p.m. It's going to be at the Chatham American Legion Lana Benedict was known as the fish fry queen for the American Legion. She's helped me for a lot of years when we've had funerals to do. I would just pick up the phone and say, Lana, help. And she took over. She's been involved with Kiwanis, she's been involved with Cherry Hills Baptist Church, she's headed up there, a lot of their cooking and things out there. She's done a lot in the community and Sweet Adelines with the Orchid Society. I don't know what all that woman was doing, and I told her, I said, you make me better, and I know I'm busy doing a lot of things. But we're doing a fundraiser to help with cost of the medical bills. They had to sell one of their vehicles. She's been in the hospital since March. From the hospital to Heritage Manor, back to the hospital. She did get to go home, I think it was like for 2 or 3 days early on, but then the rest of the time it was back in. She's had multiple surgeries, and I can't even imagine what those are going to be, so.
And she unfortunately passed away a week ago.
She passed away a week ago, yes. And so, so John, we're trying to help John and the kids to save the house and save what he does have left. So if you can make it, and if you can't make it, you can mail checks to American Legion Post 759 and just put in the memo section, Benedict fundraiser. And all that money will go towards that. They're having a silent auction. I don't know what all they're doing, but there's a lot of things going on, a lot of different organizations coming together with this, so thank you for that.
When is this?
It's October the 17th.
This Saturday.
This Saturday, in fact, yeah. I got 4 things going on that day, so if you see me hanging on really while looking, that's why. 4 to 7 p.m. There'll be hot dogs, chili, silent auction.
And Les, if I'm correct, she made every dessert that you guys had.
Yes,
For fish fry.
yes, for our fish fries. So if you want to do something good for the community, get a hold of us and we'll let you do your baking expertise.
Would I be in position to donate $20?
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, moving along to mayor's comments. As you probably read in the paper, I've been in touch with Mayor Langfelder, and we're going to sit down and try to hammer out a backup water supply intergovernmental agreement. So, waiting for him to get back from Japan, and as soon as he's back, we're going to take care of that. That's all I have to report. Can I have a motion to put the consent agenda on the table?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions about the warrants? Corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, Pat, would you take the vote, please?
Trustee Clayton?
Yes.
Ramsey?
Yes.
Well?
Yes.
Lindhorst?
Yes.
Mao?
Yes.
Stoddard?
Yes.
Okay, as I understand on old business, there is still some more work that needs to be done on the code enforcement ordinance. Is that everybody?
They are, I think staff is working with some of the inspectors and trying to hammer out some issues and concerns that they have. So I think the desire is to maybe move this back to the committee of the whole. Maybe we'll have an update at the next meeting.
Is everybody okay with that?
Fine, yep.
Okay, new business. Jeff, you want to, well, let's have a motion to put the police chief hire. Well, I don't know how, that's not really a motion.
Yeah, I think what we're looking for here is just a consensus. This is the revised chief of police job description that Trustee Boyle worked on, and it's in front of everybody tonight. I think probably just looking for consensus that this is ready to be published and start getting resumes in and applications.
Is everybody okay with it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I covered the backup water supply.
Here, is the police commission going to put this out there, or? do you
I
want to-
think we'll have to talk about that at the next committee meeting.
trying to remember what happened at that committee meeting. If they, I thought they kind of said that maybe we would be the ones that published it.
That's what.
It's easier if we just get it done now,
Yeah.
get it published, rather than wait another
I
week.
think you're right, Jeff, yeah.
Journal Register and local.
So
There were some.
Yeah, I can send,
Are we gonna discuss
or I can get, if you want to, you, Pat, or whoever, I can get some, the websites, law enforcement websites that they put a lot of postings on and things like that, if we want to put it out there, because I know that a lot of officers get on those quite frequently, and there's some ones that kind of cover the
You emailed me that.
ACS.
Now, we do have one blank in here, which is the deadline to apply is, we probably want to have a, I don't know if you want to do this.
Yeah, there's a couple, a staff of however many, the budget of whatever, and then whatever the deadline is.
And probably staff can figure out the budget numbers and the staff numbers. I don't know if you want to get 30 days, 15 days, 45, 16.
30 days.
Probably 30.
30 days, 30-day deadline, all right,
Are being posted to,
to when the applications are due.
okay.
Is there a resolution requirement for this?
Police commission.
Yes.
So do we not want to add that in this
Has the police
description?
commission seen this?
Unless you've shared it with them, I haven't.
I have not, I've just sent it out to you.
Okay,
'cause
well,
I'm-
I
Okay,
think
we
we
add
need
that,
to
Jeff?
put it on committee then and
What'd you
invite
say?
them to.
The residency requirement, can we add that in here?
Yeah, you can add the.
Because it's not in here.
Now, the police commission doesn't really have anything to do with the hiring of the chief. but
Right,
you
but
could
we've
say-
asked for their
I think-
input and now we're,
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, and that's why I put this together, was for more discussion tonight. I know we were anxious to move forward, but if you want to wait till next week to discuss it and to work out all the kinks, we can.
Okay.
I think we do, we have, I'll ask, Trout Better to come.
So, does somebody want to get this to them in advance then? I'm not.
I can't.
Yeah, I can forward it on to the commission.
Richard, are you going to discuss this more in committee next week? Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
Pat, yeah.
Okay, the Sweet Corn Festival, approving use.
Resolutions, Pat.
Oh, wait a minute, we went from police high, are we skipping over backup water supply?
You already discussed that in the mayor's comments, I think, didn't you?
Yeah.
The background plan.
Okay, so,
Pat, resolution number.
Dave's made the motion, do we have a second?
Second, 53.
Okay. Discussion?
Let me get caught up here, Tom.
Huh?
Who made the motion? Who seconded it?
Dave made the motion, Matt was the second.
Resolution number 53.
It's the
Okay,
annual resolution to allow the J.C.'s to use Community Park for the Sweet Corn Festival.
okay, Pat, would you take the vote, please?
Trustee Clayton?
Yes.
Kimsey?
Yes.
Boyle?
Yes.
Lindhorst?
Yes.
Mao?
Yes.
And Scarby.
Yes.
Okay, the zoning variance for the Arby's sign.
Sure.
Yeah.
This is ordinance number, Pat?
42.
42? Okay. Shane had contacted me, and either it was Shane and Pat McCarthy, I believe, on this, and I know we didn't discuss this at the last committee meeting, but I told them to go ahead and just put this on here. Arby's had asked for a zoning variance with their sign. Typically, signs, I believe, are 25 feet. They've asked to be able to have a sign that will be 40 feet tall. This did go through the zoning board of appeals, I believe.
We had public notice, we had public hearing, zoning board of appeals, settled both of those. No one came and spoke in opposition. The vote by the zoning board was, I think, 6-1 or
5-1.
5-1.
Yeah. I do have a question though, will this extra height of the sign impair or disrupt any of the high lines
No.
or the box that we have out there
We
with the tower?
checked with CWLP on what the requirements were to make sure that that sign was far enough away from the utility line.
Do you know, have we, and I only ask this because, just out of curiosity, how many have we granted any variances on this type of situation?
The Hardee's,
Before.
the tall Hardee's sign that's 40 feet tall. That was.
What was our ordinance in effect when Hardee's was, okay,
They asked for a variance and it was.
okay.
Okay, we're gonna need a second.
Second.
Okay. Okay, and then some further
Discuss
discussion.
that.
But I think we've got all the discussion done. Pat, would you?
Hang
take
on,
the-
before
oh,
you, what was their reasoning for,
Did he give a reason why he voted no, Ryan?
No,
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 give a, when Arby's presented it,
For the variance.
reason for the increase,
The
in the purpose
So
and
that it
the
would
justification of the request.
So that you could see it easier from Route 4?
Be able to be seen from the space shuttle.
Which is where my question is, because that's a,
Right.
all
That's
easement.
pretty open.
Are we
area. You should be able to
open- I
see
mean-
that sign when you're coming to town.
Are we opening that up for bigger signs to lock in continuously? I mean, as more businesses are coming in? I mean, that eventually will.
It almost seems like.
They have to request a variance.
Yeah, but it almost seems like.
It could
the
be
precedent-
denied.
It almost seems like the precedent was already set when we said yes to Hardee's, and isn't McDonald's 40 as well?
No, they're 20.
They're okay.
When his Hardee's was built, what, 25 years ago?
I mean, that's obviously commercial, okay? Future developments are going to move in there to the west, right? Is that,
Some to the west.
Some to the
but
west.
Mostly to the north.
where would the signs for the future developments or the future business, would those still be out along Route 4 there, or would they be back
They
on
have to be
business?
on their property.
Yeah,
On
you
business
can't-
property.
You can't put a business sign off your property, especially on Route 4, because it's a state highway.
Okay, Pat, would you take the vote, please?
Ryan, wasn't there some question you had about our current sign ordinance?
Yes, but it might be something that I want to bring up in committee next week, and the reason for that is because if you look closely at the original sign ordinance that we had from 1982, it said 10 feet originally, and then it was marked out and somebody wrote 25 in the ordinance book that I had from 1982. I would like to revisit that and basically make it 40 foot for all of the businesses coming in.
And that's why I brought it up, because I was at that zoning board of appeals meeting, and there was some ambiguity in the current ordinance, so it sounds like something that you guys might want to talk about in committee.
Yeah.
Take a look at.
That's fine, I have no problem with.
Yeah, but we can go ahead and vote tonight.
Okay.
So, Pat, would you take the vote, please?
Trustee Clayton?
Yes.
Kimsey?
No.
Boyle?
Yes.
Lindhorst?
No.
Mal?
Yes.
And Scarman?
Yes.
Okay, the leak detection contract.
This is a resolution number 54. This is a resolution.
54.
54. This is a resolution approving for the leak detection services. I think we've discussed this at length. I'll make a motion to put that on the table.
Second?
Okay, we've covered it pretty well.
We've covered it, yeah, I think pretty well in committee.
Pat, would you take the vote, please?
Trustee Clayton?
Yes.
Kimsey?
Yes.
Boyle?
Yes.
Lindhorst?
Yes.
Mal?
Yes.
And Scarman?
Yes.
Okay, Ken, the lease and purchase of the two backhoe snow pushers.
This is resolution number 55-15. This is for the purchase of the lease and purchase of two backhoe snow pushers. Went with the lowest bid, which was Martin Equipment, and I believe that it was in the amount of $750 per pusher.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Pat, would you take the vote, please?
Trustee Clayton?
Yes.
Kimsey?
Yes.
Boyle?
Yes.
Lindhorst?
Yes.
Mal?
Yes.
And Scarman?
Yes.
Okay, Ken, the asphalt hot.
Resolution 56-15, this is for the purchase of the asphalt hot patcher. Shane presented these. Looks like these are being purchased for a total of $28,026 by Galva Road Equipment, who is the lowest bidder on those.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
I had a question. Sherry, is this the piece of equipment that was in the budget approved? Or was that the box pops?
I believe they both should be.
They both were.
Were they both in?
Okay, Pat, would you take the vote, please?
Trustee Clayton?
Yes.
Kimsey?
Yes.
Doyle?
Yes.
LaForce?
Yes.
Merrill?
Yes.
Carly?
Yes.
Okay, Ken, the water regulations and the grace period.
Ordinance 15, I believe we're on 43. Yeah, this is an ordinance amending the grace period for repayment in terms of utilities. Jeff, do you want to explain just a little bit in detail?
Yeah,
Let's get a second.
Oh, get a second, sorry.
Second.
Okay,
And we're actually, I think,
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Mark.
Go ahead, I'm sorry, Jeff.
that's right. I think staff is actually going to recommend that we table this ordinance tonight. At the last meeting, there was discussion about looking at different ways to structure the utility payments, perhaps allowing customers a little bit more time to make payments, maybe clarifying some of the terminology on payment arrangements, repayment agreements, that type of thing. And so I took a stab at putting some language together, and I think when I sent that out, I may have indicated that, there may have been, since we hadn't vetted that first through the operational standpoint of the utility office, there may have been, some unintended consequences, and those things would need to be flushed out, perhaps further discussed and amended tonight. And in subsequent conversations I've had with both Sherry and with Pat, I think there are a lot of concerns with kind of approaching it this way. A couple of them being that it's going to impact the cycles and can make the bills a lot more confusing. And also that we want to make sure this applies obviously to the electric bills as well, because I guess they all go out as one bill. So what staff would like to do is take some time to review the entire process and come back with a comprehensive overhaul to this system. That being said, they do have a process right now for allowing payment agreements. So, I think there was some discussion at the last meeting. There's already some protocols for that in place. We might, flush that out a little bit further in a formal ordinance, but ultimately staff is asking for a little bit more time to come up with a overall comprehensive plan to making these changes.
Could I comment, please, briefly?
yes.
My bill got mailed, which was none of your guys' fault, got delivered to West Chestnut instead of East Chestnut. Thank God that guy was nice enough to put it in envelope, even though he opened it and didn't pay it. He put it in envelope and sent it back saying, sorry, got delivered to the wrong place. Right there's a perfect example of why that leeway needs to be given. So just as an example, thank goodness I got it, and before I came here tonight, it's paid, all right? So.
Is it a software billing issue, Pat?
No, it's actually a time constraint between steps that we have to go through, all the way from when we go out, read the meters, get the information uploaded.
Would the November 15th bill be adequate time for you guys to make these adjustments?
We were hoping that by sometime in mid-November to late November, we would have the overall plan looked at and something for you guys to review. I heard your comments last week, Mark, and I agree, but I think we need to tackle it as one big problem instead of just little pieces.
And I don't disagree with you. The frustrating part for me is to hear again last week that there's disparate treatment going on among citizens, where some now get a payment plan, some don't. As we heard citizens say, it reminds me of the back in January when we had people fixing bills but not other people's bills. So that's the frustrating part for me. That's why when this was put forth, I put, let's do something that's fair for everybody.
Well, Mark, I think I looked into that, and I think that the problem is as long as they come in and ask for a payment plan and they abide by the agreement they made, that payment plan is available to them. And the problem is when they don't abide by it. If they agree to make a $100 payment that month in their payback plan, and they don't make that payment, then we ask for a full payoff.
And that's a formal policy we have here?
That's the policy that we're following now.
But like a formal written policy? Or is this up to just somebody's judgment that says?
We've looked at it, there's pieces all over our code book that the girls try to use and follow. Some of it is follow this, but there's other parts that we should be doing that's more stringent, that don't allow some flexibility. And in the past, that flexibility has been given there. So if we followed it to the T, it would be worse than what the condition is right now.
I can understand that, but my issue is that not following something and leaving it up to an individual choice isn't following the policy. If we need to change the policy, we need to change the policy.
And that's what we agree. We do need to change the policy.
Right, I just don't want to have this going forward as somebody said, well, somebody's bill got fixed or somebody got a payment plan and the other person didn't, because we're not following policy. Like I said, if we need to.
So there's no
overhaul the
policy posted, is what the problem. So how do we get a policy posted?
Well, I think that's what they're proposing, but.
Because Jeff is going to be writing an ordinance with policies in it. Isn't that correct, Jeff?
We can do it a couple of different ways. I mean, what I, set forth in here, I think what I've come to understand today is this policy is probably even more restrictive in terms of payment agreements than what the village actually allows, so it may actually hurt customers more. We probably want to figure out, what the, and I tried to give some latitude in that, maybe you have a standard 4-month repayment. I think that's something that was discussed at the last committee of the whole meeting. But then you also give the village manager some discretion, to enter into other agreements with some parameters. So, I mean, there are any number of ways this could be done. So Jeff, is this only, I know that the title says for a limited grace period and repayment option. Is this really only about repayment options? Well, I think the other thing that we talked about at the committee of the whole, though, was the concerns people were raising about, 15 days being too short of a time to pay their utility. And I know, yeah, I agree, but to address Mark, can we get an ordinance together just dealing right now, and I know we want to do a comprehensive one, I know that's what you're talking about, but maybe we do one only talking about the delinquent charges, and then we look at the other steps regarding grace period and the other things that you wanted to address as well.
I think that's one of the concerns that got raised is how changing that, what effect that has in taking the time to make sure that, all the pieces work in. Because if you switch to 30 days right now, the point where the rest of our ordinance says a utility should be shut off happens at that same point in time. So rather than, miss all of those points and make it even more confusing for people, what Sherry and the staff and Pat have requested is give us a little bit of time to get through what we're doing and put it all out there to make sure the entire process makes sense rather than try to change one piece that changes 2 or 3 other things that you didn't expect.
And we sent Jeff a copy of what steps we follow. There are steps that they do follow. He got a copy of that this afternoon. So we're not making it up as we go along. There are steps that we follow.
I know, but we need to post that
Are
somewhere.
they followed? Yeah, I think that's the next question.
Well, they are.
Well, and I think what do we need to do to make that public and clear? So it's not just us saying it here and saying, okay. I don't know many people are actually, like, there are people who watch it, but there's a lot of people in our town that don't watch this. So we have to make it publicly clear, not just, hey.
You're talking about the payment plan?
Even this payment plan that we're doing right now until the 15th.
Quite honestly, I think that the village manager could come out with the chief fiscal officer who's kind of over the utilities. I think they could come out with a document that kind of explains, the payment arrangement options in the process and, make that, something that's kind of a internal policy and protocol, something that would be available for public inspection, and at least have that out there. And maybe ultimately you guys decide you want to adopt that and make it some sort of formal policy, but at least in this review period, that document could be out there. And I don't know how, staff feels like, at least there's something in writing somewhere that people can be following and making sure that the people who are doing this on the ground are also understanding kind of the parameters and the goals and objectives.
So why don't you put that together, send it out to us, and then we'll make sure, as long as nobody responds back with anything, we can move forward. So at least we have something interim.
And it can be a document in which when somebody does walk in, that's a document that you can.
And that's the plan.
Yeah.
But we don't have that document right yet.
We've been talking about this for quite some time. on, just not for our customers, but for our staffs. Issues that arise in the office to have something for them to hand to a customer when that situation arises. So it's not like we haven't been thinking about it, it just, we haven't gotten around.
So let's, move that to the top of the
Yeah,
list.
put it on the front burner.
And again, I will volunteer, right with the meter reader. Let me reassure the citizens too. Put it past, because I can't accept no.
And Bonnie, I'll tell you this, we're working on, with Sherry, we're working on analysis of the various issues that everybody brought up. Sherry's doing some testing. We've got a lot of questions. We got a nice response from Sherry yesterday that we're yet to go over and disseminate to the other board members. But we are working on looking at all those things right now.
Oh, let's remember to open that door.
Okay. The Millennium Associates bill printing contract.
Yeah, this is resolution 57-15. This is resolution approving Third Millennium Associates to provide the bill printing and mailing for the village utilities. Sherry, I saw later there was a little bit of a change.
Second.
I saw, do you want me to give you a little bit of an update if you didn't get my email? InfoSend, the other bidder, called and wanted to point out that their total annual cost was different. They had including a monthly insert in their total cost. So even after taking that in consideration for the regular monthly processing, Third Millennium still is the lesser quote and is staff's recommendation. But I just wanted to let you know.
My question is, what would be on that monthly insert? Would it be whatever we want on there, like village things to like different policy changes or different, can we put whatever we want on that insert? And do we have that option under Third Millennium?
Yes,
To
we
possibly
can
do
do
that
monthly inserts under Third Millennium.
with no extra cost, like InfoSend would have?
No, they have a cost as well.
And how is it different than,
InfoSend's cost is a little bit higher than Third Millennium's. And considering we don't do a monthly insert every month, we do have a message center on our regular bill that it doesn't make it necessary every month that we need to put an insert in there.
I mean, I think in a way, that's one thing that we should look at more because, we say some people don't get the Clarion, some don't get the SJR, some aren't on Facebook, some don't have email or internet or whatever, but what everybody has and what everybody gets is a utility bill. So if you put one of those monthly inserts in there that says, meeting times, dates, this is what's going on, the different things that are going on at Village Hall, I think that could increase public awareness as well as maybe more attendance at meetings and just more public involvement, like highlighting our e-alert system. I know we have many on it now, but it can only get bigger, and the more on that system, I think, the better.
Okay. Who was the second?
Dave.
Okay. Pat, would you take the vote, please?
Trustee Clayton.
Yes.
Kimsey.
Yes.
Boyle.
Yes.
Lindhorst.
Yes.
Mao.
Yes.
Scotterman.
Yes.
Cubs 6, Cardinals 4, final.
Anybody like to offer a resolution condemning the Chicago?
Okay. Upcoming meetings, October 20th, Committee of the Whole, and then October 27th, regular village board meeting. So,
There's the Public Properties and Rec Commission meeting is the 19th. They moved it up back a week because of the holiday.
okay, and
I'll make a motion to go into an executive session for personnel
Second.
and real estate.
and real estate.
Second.
Okay, Pat, would you take the vote, please?
Trustee Clayton.
Yes.
Kimsey.
Yes.
Boyle.
Yes.
Lindhorst.
Yes.
Mao.
Yes.
Yes.
Scotterman.
As of right now.
Is there,